Welcome to the Bear Sheet Broadcast, a show about building stability, preserving legacy, and strengthening the communities we call home. I'm Khaliyah Heaven Barakhyahu, founder and president of Bear Sheet, a 501c3 nonprofit organization located in the Richmond area, and I'm honored you've chosen to spend this time with us. This is a space created for real conversations about homeownership, wealth building, life decisions, and the decisions that shape our families' future. At Bear Sheet, our mission is simple but powerful. We empower families to build lasting stability by providing holistic education and compassionate support in homeownership, wealth building, and end-of-life planning. We help individuals make informed decisions, preserve their legacy, and strengthen the communities they call home. To all our listeners, if there's a topic you want to discuss, please send us an email to info@bearsheetcorporation.org. That's info, I-N-F-O, at Bearsheet, B-R-E-S-H-E-E-T, corporation.org. So I'm excited today. We're going to have almost like a Q&A type conversation. I have Hezekiah here with us today.
Yes.
And we're going to talk to you about a few questions that we got from our last episode we did that we wanted to share with you, so you could benefit from those questions as well and the answers. All right, yes. Hezekiah, start us off, please.
Yeah, so our last broadcast, we were talking about foreclosures. And in some cases, during a foreclosure, that person or that client may have to be in a position to sell their home quickly. With that, it opened up the questions around selling homes. One good question was, there are companies out here called, We Buy Ugly Homes, or We'll Buy Your Home Now, or, and the question was, are these companies legit?
Yeah,
and how what is the benefit and some of the cons with these companies when it comes to trying to get or unload that property quickly? To discuss it, I would ask Khaliyah to talk about that, being a realtor. Give us some information on that question, about these
We buy ugly houses and companies like that.
Yes.
So there are in any industry, there are scammers and there are legitimate companies. And there are legitimate companies that buy your house quickly. We Buy Ugly Houses is like a franchise. There is a lot of them. They're all individually owned by different areas. They have signed up to be able to use that name and benefit from those resources. And so there are good ones. I mean, I could think of a couple good ones right now that are out there that will buy your house quickly, and that's what they do. They will come into your home. We'll talk to you first. They'll find out what your needs are, why you're trying to sell, how much do you owe on your mortgage, what are you looking to get, and they'll make you an offer. Now, there are some that aren't reputable, and I would say if you're going to use the We Buy Ugly Houses is a name, but they usually have their own individual company name under that. I would research that person that is selling the home under We Buy Ugly Houses and see what reviews they have. The other thing is, and I'm gonna tell you, when we had a house in Chesterfield, and we had one time we wanted to sell it quickly, so we did a lot of calling. This is before I was a realtor, and we called We Buy Ugly Houses. We Googled it. Several people came up, people who could buy your houses quickly. And one of the things I noticed with the contracts is they don't always protect me or that person as the seller.
Yes.
In the contract, it will have a low deposit. So they'll tell you, I'll buy your home for this amount. It may be a good enough number for you. You want to get out of it for whatever reason. Maybe there's a default, maybe you need the money for medical reasons. Whatever the reason is, that's fine. But they will put in there a small earnest money deposit. And to me, looking back at it, that's very concerning. One, they handle your closing costs, which always looks appealing. Nobody wants to pay closing costs. Many times nobody wants to pay a realtor. So you got two things, but each of them have their purposes. So being that they're handling your closing costs, they're using their settlement company. Their settlement company is hired by them. So even though you're signing your paperwork, their allegiance is to them. So when they offer you $500 or $1,000 as a deposit. I've even seen one as low as $100.
Wow.
They were going to buy a property. It wasn't mine, but they were going to buy a property, and the earnest money was $100. And the lady had asked me about it because she was considering doing that instead of putting it on the market. And I shared with her, if they default, so this contract was for 30 days. Not only was it just $100 earnest money deposit, but they could do their home inspections for 30 days and cancel anytime in between.
Wow.
So she is thinking, oh yes, my house is going to sell. I don't have to do any showings. I don't have to pay a realtor. They're going to cover my closing costs. But then when they pull out, and yes, this company did, she didn't get any earnest money deposit, which wasn't that much anyway, and she's 30 days behind where she thought she was going to be.
Oh, wow.
So now they're not all like that. They are good. I want to make sure that I express that too. There are good people who will buy your home quickly, but you have to find them.
Yes.
I recommend when they give you that contract, don't just sign it. Have someone else look at it too. An attorney is always the best. Have a real estate attorney look at that and let you know, make sure it protects you. What happens if they don't buy? Another thing that I've seen on them is they want access to your property throughout the tenure of the contract. So they want to be able to show your property at any time or have their colleagues come into your property. And it depends on your situation, but if you're living there, that might not be the most convenient for them to put a lockbox on your door. Even though they're going to tell you when the appointment is, you may not want people walking through your house. What I learned is that some of them, they assign your contract to someone else. So they may be the initial one that's offering you the contract, but they're not the end one that's going to close on your home. And so let's say your home was worth $200,000. You decided to accept a We Buy Ugly Houses or someone like that. We Buy Houses. Let's just say that a contract for $100,000. Well. And let's take them out of it, because it may not be We Buy Ugly Houses, and I don't want their name to just be associated with the example. So anybody, you got a investor, there we go, and they're going to buy your house for $100,000. It was worth $200,000, but it needs a lot of work, and you want to go ahead and move out. In their contract, usually they have the ability to assign the contract, which means they were going to buy it in the beginning, but now they're going to find another buyer. Well, that other buyer that they find, they may pay $150 for your property. They may pay $175 for your property. You don't find out about that until you look at your closing disclosure at closing. So yes, you're going to get your $100,000. They're going to do what they said there, but there was an extra $75,000 that you could have gotten for your property that they get for their work. And so instead of doing an investor or someone who can just buy it quickly, also talk to a realtor. See what the numbers are going to be. Because many times if your house gets listed on the open market, or even if it's privately sold, realtors don't always have to list your house on the MLS and it be on Zillow. They can do private listings within their brokerage. They have client lists that they can reach out to buy your house. And many times you're going to make a lot more money on your property than doing the investor deal. But there is a time and a place for an investor deal.
Yes. Wow. So that being said, like you say, I want to sell my home. I got to get out of it. That research, knowing what is it worth, my home, like nowadays, I may think, my house, I can sell it for $150,000, but it's worth $300,000.
Right.
So coming to that person or seeking these companies, is it negotiable? Can you say, hey, I see the house is worth this much. Can you give me more? Or, does that... I know it's not like a realtor, but does it work like that sometimes? You can
negotiate, but you can also shop around. There's a lot of investor companies out there, and that's why if you're listing it, then you'll be able to have access to all the people that are looking for houses. Because imagine if you were going to take $100,000 to this investor company, what would someone else give you? There's probably another person out there that may give you $125 or $150, depending on how it's priced. But yes, you can say to them, this is too low. I want you to go higher. They can also say no, and they are very good with saying no and walking away and waiting the time. waiting the time for you to call back because you're the one who needs them.
Yes.
They would love your house. You know, this is their business, but you're the one who needs them.
Yes. So. Interesting. So another question that came up, and this has been in the news recently, I would say the last 5 years, is a lot of hedge fund companies, investment companies that purchase property, and they fix it up very nice. They rent it out for premium, monthly premiums. Recently, I read an article, I think somewhere in Northern Virginia. It's a investment company that's actually building a neighborhood, like a development, and it's all rental homes.
Oh, wow.
It's not for purchase or mortgage. So that was interesting in itself, because these houses were nice. I mean, 2,500 square feet houses, garage, everything that someone would want, but you could only rent it.
Okay.
So with that being said, what information do you have about that trend, and or is that something that people would look into to, I guess, sell their home to one of these companies? Is that possible?
I mean, I always tell clients, you don't want to discriminate. Right. So we talk about discrimination and fair housing. And a lot of times we think about race, ethnicity, income status, marital status, all those things. But also it comes down to the businesses as well. Yes. Now, you have to look at the numbers, and that's what I say. Right. If you have a property and you're looking to sell it, are you going to make the money that you want to make off your property?
Yes.
And if you're going to make the money that you want to make off your property, then that's what you have to look at.
Yes.
I understand the concern about selling it to a business, and maybe that wouldn't be the right fit depending on what they're going to do. But many times, people are buying houses under business names, and they're not a business.
That's correct.
They're doing it to protect for tax reasons.
Yes.
They're doing it under a company.
Yes.
So how do you know that business is one of those businesses that are going to be renting out your property, or one of those businesses that's just a person who has been, for tax reasons, been told that this is better for them? So that's another thing. So then what are you going to do? You're going to go research them, look them up. Now you're discriminating. So then when you say, I'm not going to take your offer, and they've made you a good offer, what are you going to say?
Right.
Then what if that's your only offer? So there has to be housing. We want there to be housing for people, and there are houses out there. Right. But there also is always going to be rental houses, because everybody can't get into a purchase house right away either. So they have their benefits, they have their downsizes, but it's all about the number. When you go to sell your home, you talk with a realtor. They give you what your house is going to be worth, or you have it appraised by an appraiser, and you go for that value. Yes. And what I wanted to say too, the last time was, sometimes people look at their tax assessment and they're like, I spent $150,000 for my house. The tax assessment says it's worth $200,000. That's what I want to sell it for. And they don't realize that the tax assessment is not the same as market value. Right. And market value many times is much higher. So it's and as much as I like a lot of these third-party listing places where you can look up and they say your value of your property, they're not taking into account the upgrades you've done in your property. They're not taking into account if it's a corner home, because I've had so many people call and say, I want to sell for this much. I looked it up online, and this website said it's worth this much. And I was like, well, did they know that you just redid your roof? Did they know that you upgraded your bathroom? Or on the other side, do they know there's a big hole in the floor? Like, they're not looking at all those things. So it is very important when you're assessing your value of your property to get someone who knows how to do that, a realtor or an appraiser, so that you know exactly what it's worth, because otherwise you could leave money on the table.
That's correct. And for example, when real time you helped us sell our property, and I noticed the first offer in the contract, the person that made the initial offer, or the company, it stated that during closing it could possibly be another company. Yes. So that kind of opened my eyes to, okay, is this a person or a corporation, you know,
Yes.
buying the house, you know. And that was just an interesting, like I said, not being the first time seeing something like that or seeing the process of it.
Yes.
You know, usually you're thinking it's a person or family that's going to buy it, but it's a LLC that's buying it.
And I asked, when I saw that, I asked the question, because I'm familiar with wholesaling and creative financing and being an investor and buying houses low and then renovating. And so when I saw that and it said in the Central Virginia contracts, it says you cannot assign a contract. So if you're buying my house, Hezekiah, then you're the end buyer. But they had crossed out in the contract, will be able to assign if they wanted to. And when I reached out to the agent, he had shared with me that they have other people that they work with, and they may want to assign the contract to someone else. And we had to talk about that. That's the same thing when we're talking about these companies who say they can buy your house quickly. Many times they can, but they have the right to assign it, and it's in their contract. It's not a cross out where if you don't read it properly, you won't see it. It's good that you read that. It's very important when you're selling your home to read the contracts. And really
understand it.
Really see what's in there. What does this mean to you? Because sometimes you may not understand everything.
That's correct.
There was a story, a realtor had told me that someone had reached out to his client to buy their house and buy it really cheaply, and then they were going to turn around and sell it for thousands of dollars more. And he talked with the lady before she signed anything and said, you may want to rethink about that, because we can get this amount for your house. Even if you market lower than market value, we can still get you more. Why should this money be left on the table for somebody else? Now, there are times and places for that, though. So there are times when houses are in disarray and you don't have the money to put in to fix it up, or you don't want people walking through your house to see what it's like. So it's not that you can't use these companies, it's that you need to vet them. You need to make sure they're a legitimate company. Ask them for references. Can you tell me a couple people that you've helped? Can I talk with them? Sometimes they'll say no, but many of them will have them on their website. You want to talk. You want to make sure that this is a legitimate company that's going to close. Ask them what settlement company they're using. I had heard of like a scam where they were where it was a company that was giving a bad name to those type of companies, and they were a scam. The settlement company wasn't even real. So imagine going through all of that, looking for a 30-day closing, and you're not even going to close. No, you're not going to close at all. So it's very important to vet that like you do anything else.
So with that being said, okay, you have a property. Let's say that you've been in this property forever. I mean, when I say you grew up in it, I've never had to sell it. Where do I even start? Where do I get a realtor from? Like, how do I find a reputable person that will help me sell this property?
So, if I was looking for a realtor, I know I am a realtor, but if I was looking for a realtor, there's a couple places you could go. You can go to the DPOR site, which is the licensing, Department of Licensing, where they go and they license realtors. And you can search on there by state and city, and you can find a realtor that way. Nowadays, we have so many search engines. You could really Google it and put in realtor in your city, and realtors will come up. Now, I wouldn't say, sometimes realtors pay to be at the top of the search engines, just like any other marketing. But their Google business page, I'd say look at their reviews. There's Google business. They have like how many stars they get. Are they 5-star agent? Read the reviews, because you can tell sometimes if an AI wrote the review. Read it, see what the review is saying. I would do that. And then now I've heard people, they go on social media, they see if they're on social media. They reach out to a friend. Everybody seems to know a realtor. That's what I was always told. Everybody knows a realtor. So reach out to one of your friends that has used a realtor and ask them, do they know a realtor that they like? I get many referrals from my clients who they say, Khaliyah will take care of you. She took care of us. So, and they'll refer me out. So, and don't be don't feel like the realtor that you interview you have to go with.
Yes.
Sometimes interview a couple realtors.
Right.
Ask them some questions. What are you going to do to sell my home? How are you going to help me buy a home? What's your communication style? Can I text you? Can I call you?
Right.
You know, you don't have to go with just that one person. All realtors are different. Believe me, we're
Yes.
not all the same. And so get one that's going to be your advocate, is educated on what you need in your situation,
Yes.
has good reviews, and is going to be available. And then that's the realtor that you go ahead and you sign up with.
Yes. And that makes the difference. You know, you want someone that's hands-on because you're dealing with a lot of money here. And there's a lot of time, and you know, there's a lot, the process and just the knowledge of, you know, everything when it comes to closing a home. Like you say, a realtor is a person that has to find someone to buy your property.
Yes, right.
I mean, and that you know, and I can say from experience, you know, it takes time, and it takes the effort to seek those people that are qualified, that want the property. Like, you look at your property and say, is there someone that would appreciate what I'm trying to sell? You know, am I looking, like you say, we don't want to discriminate, but there are people, you know, that you want to have. It's like, I want someone with a good family, you know, or somebody to come in and purchase this. But it takes a lot of, like you say, referrals and shopping around, because like anything, you know, you may have sharks out there that they don't care, you know.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
You met them one time, and then meet me at the property, and it's another person. And you're like, okay, who is this?
Right. Yes.
You know.
They should be communicating with you. You know, someone else is going to meet you out there. I have a showing agent.
Yes.
And agents do have that. There are agents with teams where you have the initial agent that you sign up with, and then you'll have an agent who shows the properties.
Yes.
Then you'll have another agent who helps you through the contract process. And then you're back with your beginning agent to finalize the deals. But those things should be communicated with you.
Okay.
So, and with a realtor, I mean, it's a contract. So if they're not fulfilling their contract, you can cancel. I've had people don't know that. If you have a realtor and you have a contract with your realtor and they're not performing for you, or they're not helping you, you send them a notice that you would like to cancel. They'll send you they'll talk to you. Most realtors want to keep their business, so they'll find out what's going on and see if they can correct the mistake. But they can't make you stay with them. You don't have to. It's a two-way street.
Yes.
They're working for you, and you're allowing them to work for you.
Yes. Yes, that's great. So how does Bereshit, when we talk about information, we talked about a lot of things today. And that's part of I would say, our mission, to provide knowledge and information to help people.
Yes.
And so with that being said, you know, if it came down to someone calling us or trying to get more information, what steps will we help them to get to what they need? Do we refer them? Do we, you know, walk them through a process? Do we, you know, what do you think we should be doing?
Well, with Bereshit, we have an intake, so we're going to get what their information and what service that they need. And so let's say it was someone like who was talking to us after our last show and asked us about We Buy Ugly Houses and people like that. What do they do? We would educate them. This is something that we can definitely educate them. And let's see if they would like to talk with a realtor, if they needed an attorney because they were going to go with a company like that, then we would refer. So we have companies that we work with. We have attorney companies that we have worked with before that we can refer out. And if we don't have one in their area, then we can research for them. Also, if they needed a realtor, because now we're telling them, don't just take that first offer. No, be educated on what your property is worth to make the best decision. Then we would refer them a realtor. I could help them, but if it's not in their area, we can refer them a realtor. So it's providing those services and that education.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
When the whole goal of Bereshit, like you said, is to empower people to be able to know so they can make informed decisions. And if we don't know, because we're a nonprofit, but we are starting, we're growing, we're gaining more vendors and access to people that we can refer out, one thing we're going to do is research.
Yes.
And we're going to provide that answer. And once we provide that answer to them, we follow up as well to make sure they got what they needed.
Yes.
And yeah, then we have someone that, we continue to help. That's how we help them.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I think, like you say, that getting on that path to either home ownership or trying to sell a property, once again, we're here to help. Introduce myself again. I'm Hezekiah Bailey. I'm a board member on Bereshit, at the Bereshit organization. And like you say, these are things that, we encourage you to gain the knowledge on what you're doing with your property and what you want to do. Yes. And your goals is so important. People lose properties every day, and we haven't talked on this subject, but with taxes, a lot of people pass away and the property is given over to a loved one,
right?
But there are taxes that are owed, and these are things that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about. Mm-hmm. And how to ensure that your property or the property that you received is secure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's great. If you are going through something and you have questions, you need a referral to somewhere else, then please reach out to us. If today's conversation sparked questions for you or gave you a little hope about what might be possible, we invite you to connect with us. To learn more about Bereshit, our upcoming programs, or ways to get involved, visit bereshitcorporation.org. Mm-hmm. Email us at info@bereshitcorporation.org. And the email is info@BAsInBoy, corporation.org. Or call us 844-405-3924. You can also follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn to stay connected for future conversations and community resources. And if we had to leave you with anything through this, is to feel you be empowered.
Yes.
You're important. You're not alone. If you have questions, reach out to your community resources. We're on the broadcast every Saturday at 11:30. Send us an email. Give us a call. We can answer your question. Visit us on social media. We want to thank you for spending this time with us today. This is the Bereshit broadcast, building stability, preserving legacy, and strengthening the community. Join us next time as we continue these conversations that help families move forward with clarity, confidence, and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you.